sure you're tired of hearing about this. I'm tired of companies being pieces of because companies like Visa and Mastercard just gained the power to decide which games can exist on Steam. What have I told you? This is just the beginning of something much bigger and more terrifying for the entire gaming industry, maybe even more than that. Because in the past week, Steam quietly updated their rules in a way that could fundamentally change really everything forever. Hundreds of games have already been removed, and this isn't about protecting children or stopping illegal content, at least not the way I want to address this. This is about two credit card companies now having veto power over what games you're allowed to play, and if you think this stops with games you don't care about, you're dead wrong. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, I cover gaming news, a little bit of drama, and tech trends that I think actually matter. Today, we're going to look into a story that could reshape the entire gaming landscape, and most people, didn't have an idea that it's happening. It's everywhere now, which is a good thing. We need to talk about it, and we need to be loud, because here's what went down. On July 15th, 2025, Steam added a new rule, Clause 15, to their developer guidelines. The rule states that Steam will ban any content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers. What does that mean? Well, translation is if Visa and Mastercard don't like your game, it's gone. No appeals, no artistic merit defense, no nothing. Within 16 hours of this rule going live, hundreds of games were removed from Steam. Now, most of these games were low-quality adult games with controversial themes, so your first reaction might be good riddance. That's what mine was, but here's the thing that's exactly how this type of censorship always starts. They begin with content that most people won't defend and then gradually expand their reach. Here's where it gets interesting. This wasn't just payment processors acting on their own. Earlier this month, an activist group called Collective Shout sent an open letter to PayPal, Visa, and Mastercard pressuring them to stop processing payments for these games on Steam. They'd already successfully gotten a controversial game called No Mercy removed from multiple platforms using similar pressure tactics. So what we're seeing here is a new censorship pipeline. Activist groups pressure payment processors and payment processors pressure platforms, and platforms cave to avoid losing their payment processing. Steam is essentially being held hostage by this financial pressure campaign. And think about this for a second. Steam is a private company that should be able to decide what content they host. But now they're being forced to outsource those decisions to credit card companies whose only concern is protecting their brand image. I don't know about you, but I never thought about brand image when I took my card out to purchase something. I might now, because I think they're being pieces of shit. This brings us to the real problem that nobody's talking about, at least I couldn't find people talking about, which is the payment processor monopoly. Visa and Mastercard control approximately 85 to 90% of all payment processing outside of China. That's not competition, that's a duopoly with a combined market value of over $850 billion. So let me put this in perspective. These two companies process more transactions than almost any other business on earth. They have higher profit margins than tech giants like Apple or Google. And here's the scary part. They have something called the match list, which is essentially a financial blacklist. If you get added to this list, you can never process credit card payments again. Ever. And there's no appeals process. The power dynamic here is beyond insane. As one expert put it, these companies are so dominant in the payments market that the merchants couldn't stay in business without using their cards. So when Visa or MasterCard decides they don't like something, they can essentially delete it from the economy. And this isn't theoretical. They've already flexed this muscle before. Remember when Visa and MasterCard blocked payments to adult websites like Pornhub? That wasn't because of illegal content. It was because these payment companies decided their entire category of legal content was just bad for their brand. Now they're doing the same thing to gaming platforms. Steam, one of the most powerful companies in gaming, just bent the knee to credit card companies. Steam can't resist this type of pressure. So what makes you think smaller platforms can? And here's where things, for me at least, get really concerning. This payment processor pressure isn't limited to Steam or even gaming. It's happening across the entire internet. Here's the key part. It's not even just payment processors acting independently. We are seeing organized pressure campaigns where activist groups specifically target payment processors to achieve censorship goals they couldn't accomplish through normal channels. The collective shout campaign against Steam is just one example of the strategy. Patreon, the platform that many content creators depend on for their income, has been forced to change their policy multiple times due to similar payment processor demands. Fansly, another content creator platform, was pressured to ban certain types of content creators. Japanese retailers like DealSite have been cut off from international customers entirely. And it's not even just adult content. Payment processors have also targeted news outlets, political organizations, and even free speech advocacy groups. PayPal famously cut off WikiLeaks, Consortium News, and Mint Press News. They even closed the account of the Free Speech Union, an organization that literally exists to defend free speech. The pattern is clear. Start with content that's controversial or that most people just won't defend, and then gradually expand to anything these companies find brand damaging. And who decides what's brand damaging? A handful of executives at payment companies who are accountable to no one except their almighty shareholder? Now you might be thinking, but that's just about removing bad content, right? Well, wrong. The problem is that these companies' definitions of problematic just keep expanding. Content that was acceptable yesterday becomes unacceptable today, and there's no democratic process, no transparency, no accountability. In gaming specifically, we're already seeing this expansion. Some legitimate games got caught in Steam's recent purge, including investigation games that had nothing to do with adult content. Users are reporting that even mild content is being flagged as explicit when it wouldn't have been before. Let's kind of talk about what this means for gaming specifically. Right now, we're seeing payment processors target adult games, but their reach goes far beyond that. These companies have incredibly broad policies that could apply to almost any content. Mastercard's rules, for example, ban anything that could damage the goodwill or reputation of the corporation. That is so vague, it could apply to literally anything. A game with violence? Well, that could damage their reputation. A game with controversial historical themes? Yeah, that could damage their reputation too. A game that depicts gambling, even in a fantasy setting, that could damage their reputation. And here's the thing about the gaming industry, it's built on pushing boundaries. Some of the most acclaimed games in history dealt with mature themes, violence, political commentary, or social issues. Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, Mortal Kombat, The Witcher series, all of these franchises could potentially fall under these vague brand damaging policies. The chilling effect is already starting. Game developers are now going to have to consider not just what players want, not just what platform holders will allow, but now what credit card companies might find objectionable. That's an extra layer of censorship that could stifle creativity and innovation in ways we can't even predict yet. And it's not just about content. Payment processors could start targeting games based on their monetization models, their political themes, or even their country of origin. We've seen them go after Japanese content specifically, suggesting that even cultural differences could become grounds for financial censorship. That's terrible and beyond scummy. This Steam situation, I really think, is just the tip of the iceberg. What we're really looking at is the emergence of a new form of censorship. Financial censorship. Instead of governments banning content directly, private corporations are using their control over the financial system to achieve the same result. And this is particularly dangerous because it operates in the shadows. When a government bans something, there's usually public debate, legal challenges, democratic oversight. You can vote people out if you don't like what they do. When Visa and Mastercard ban something, it just disappears quietly. And up until now, most people never even notice. The Electronic Frontier Foundation has been warning about this for years. They point out when financial institutions shut down accounts or block payments, it can have serious ramifications for free expression online. Websites, whether they're game platforms, news sites, or creator platforms, rely on their financial institutions to continue operating. As we move toward an increasingly cashless society, this problem is only going to get worse. Cash transactions can't be censored. They happen directly between buyer and seller. But digital transactions all flow through these payment processors, giving them unprecedented power over commerce and expression. And guess what? It's not exactly easy to just create an alternative payment processing company, even though Elon did say on X, maybe he'll solve that problem for us. The gaming industry should be particularly concerned about this because gaming has always been at the forefront of digital commerce. We were early adopters of digital distribution, microtransactions, and online payments. That makes us especially vulnerable to financial censorship. So, what does this all mean for the future of gaming? Well, in the short term, we're probably going to see more platforms implement similar policies like Steam's. Epic Game Store, GOG, PlayStation Store, Xbox Store, I mean, they all depend on the same payment processor. So they're all vulnerable to the same pressure. We might also see game developers start self-censoring, avoiding themes or content that might trigger payment processor scrutiny or whatever social justice cause is popular at the time. And that could lead to a homogenization of gaming content where everything becomes more sanitized and less creative. In the longer term, this could fundamentally change who controls the gaming industry. Instead of players, developers, and platform holders making these decisions, we're handing that power to financial companies whose primary concern is protecting their brand image and profit margins. But there is some hope, a little bit of a glimmer, if it were, because lawmakers are starting to pay attention to this issue. There's currently bipartisan legislation in Congress aimed at breaking up the Visa Mastercard duopoly. Some experts are calling for payment processors to be regulated as public utilities, which would require them to process all legal transactions without discrimination. The gaming industry could also start exploring alternative payment methods like cryptocurrency, direct bank transfers, and new payment platforms could provide ways around this financial censorship, like Elon brought up on X. But that would require coordination and investment from major players in the industry. Again, it's not exactly easy to just start a payment processing business. Look, I know this might seem like a distant problem that doesn't affect you directly. Like, are you really going to miss any of these scummy games? Maybe you don't care about these games that got removed from Steam, but this isn't really about those games. It's about who gets to decide what content exists in the digital age. And that should be me and you, the consumer, the customer. Right now, we're allowing 2 credit card companies to become the arbiters of acceptable expression online. They're not elected, they're not accountable to the public, and their only loyalty is to their almighty shareholders. So do we really want to give them veto power over gaming content? This is a crucial moment for the gaming industry and for digital freedom in general. If we don't push back against financial censorship now, it's only going to get worse. The companies exercising this power aren't going to voluntarily give it up. They'll only expand it. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. But what do you think? Are you concerned about payment processors controlling gaming content or content in general? Do you think platforms like Steam should resist this pressure, even if it means losing payment processing? Or do you think there's a third option that would work for everyone involved? Let me know in the comments below. And if this video opened your eyes to something you didn't know about, or you just liked it in general, go ahead and hit that like button and consider subscribing for more dives into technology, the gaming industry, and news in general. And let me know if you have any other behind the scenes industry stories you would like me to keep an eye out or cover. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. That's all I've got for you today. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Peace out. Bye.